Okay, so starting in Shavasana, take yourself down to the floor. It is yin, but at this moment you can, if you'd like to use something under your head, then please feel free to. You don't need to, but if you want to make yourself more comfortable at this point. Yin isn't the same, remember, as restorative, so the point of when we move into the poses isn't to make ourselves as comfortable as possible so that we fall asleep. It's to allow ourselves to be comfortable enough to go deeper into the pose, is the idea. So that sort of comes up slightly different. So here, just lying in Shavasana. The first question, we're on the bodies of yoga still this week. This is the final class of our theme, the bodies of yoga, or your bodies of yoga, as I've named this class this morning. So first question to ask yourself is, how do you define yourself? Just have a think about that question. How do you define yourself? What do you think of yourself as, or who? So do you define yourself, in other words, by how you look, how you appear to other people? So what they see, is that how you would define yourself? Or do you define yourself maybe by who you think you are? Or do you define yourself maybe by who you feel you are, which is slightly different from who you think you are? There's a detachment in the who you think you are to some extent, whereas who you feel you are, you're a little bit more involved with. So just think for a moment of how you define yourself. And it may be that you do it in several ways, depending on the situation you're in. So going back to our gross physical body, which we started with this week, the Annamaya kosha. So are you a body lying here? Or are you several layers? So imagine you were looking above yourself. If you were up in the ceiling looking downwards at yourself lying here, and just look at the picture of you lying here. So your head, your neck, your shoulders, arms, body, legs, feet. And then going a little bit closer. Come inside now rather than on the ceiling. Take yourself off the ceiling and come back inside. And take yourself to that outside shell and feel your hands and your fingers. And feel your toes and your feet. Feel your right leg and your left leg. Feel the weight of your body. Feel the weight and fullness of your skull. And running back through your physical body, feel the muscles, skin, bones, a little deeper but made of the same stuff, your organs. The physicality of all of your organs moving, beating, blood circulating. This is your gross physical body. This is the house you live in. This is the body that grows with you. A material body, a mortal body, tangible, that changes as you age from the moment you're born or even before it. to that last breath you take. So it may be that you do define yourself by how people see you, or it may be that they define you by that. But if you go a little bit deeper, you might come to sense that that outer layer, the physical body, isn't the only part of you. What goes on in your head every day, that the thought process, that is also part of you, but not really part of the physical body, not tangible. What goes on deeper inside? In your heart, you want to say, but actually your heart is a physical presence. But that thing, that self that you feel deeper inside you, that deals with your emotions, connections, relations, not just the physical body. So maybe you can sense now those layers of you as you move deeper through. So we're going to work with those layers on a Yin Yoga basis now. So have a little stretch and move your limbs again, move your fingers and hands and feet and whatever. And then we're going to stay in this position, but you're going to need a block or a wall because we're going to take legs up the wall. So everybody should know that position, hopefully, and know what we're going into. If you can find a wall, it's always good to support you. If you want to use your block under your tailbone as your support, then that's always helpful, I find, to balance you in this position. So still lying on our backs, I'm going to come into it with you for a moment. We're going to put the support under our sit bones, if you've got a block or a bolster, or even a cushion would do. And it tips you up a little bit more towards your head and shoulders, so it inverts you a little bit more in that direction. If you don't like this, take the support away from your bottom. If putting your legs right up is too much for you this morning, then just put your legs on a chair maybe, or have them half bent, so like this, so that you've only got your knees to thigh upwards. The rest of your legs can be either. If you'd rather, you can just draw them in into Uttanasana. But otherwise, take your feet up the wall or up ahead of you towards the ceiling. Flex the feet gently so that you've got your feet parallel to the ceiling. I tend to bring my legs together here because they stay stronger then. So have my ankles, knees and thighs together. And then make sure you've got a bit of space between your tummy and your thighs. Try not to draw the legs towards your head. So try and keep them moving up from the hips up directly towards the ceiling. And then rest your shoulders and your arms wherever you feel comfortable and supported. So we're into Viparita Karani, legs up the wall. In our physical body, we've moved into this, but we're looking a little bit deeper here to our Pranamaya kosha, which is all about energy. We'll go into the energies next week as our themes will be. But prana is life energy. So we use the breath, and that's what we're going to do here. The breath brings in life energy. So when you're ready, just watch your breath for a second. And then move into the breath. If at any point anybody wants to come down from this and just lie in Shavasana again, please do. Don't stay up here if it's making you feel weird at all. Your circulation is moving differently here, remember. It's coming in different directions, so the body's having to work differently. But the life energy that we're talking about is having to move in different directions. So finding your breath now and taking control of the breath. If you're comfortable with retention breaths, then please follow me. If you're not, just breathe in for 4 and out for 4. Just breathing through your nostrils. Otherwise, we're taking an in-breath for 4 when you're ready, and then we're pausing for 2 with the breath inside us. Khumbaka. So we're retaining the breath in the pot, and then we exhale for 4 and retain outward for 4. So you're empty for the pose of 2. So in for 4, pause for 2 with the breath inside, or the energy is retained, and exhale for 4, pause for 2, having released any energy that you need to. So giving it back. In 4, pause for 2, exhale 4, pause for 2. Just take those rounds now. So as we breathe in, if it's not your in-breath, don't worry, but as we breathe in, we are drawing in life energy. It's not the breath that's the life energy, it's what it brings in with it. We also have many energies inside us that work with that life energy. So if you think at the moment, for instance, physically of your circulation and what it's doing, maybe you can even feel it. Maybe your legs are starting to feel lighter. Your head's feeling a little bit heavier than normal. This is flushing all the blood in towards your head through gravity and down through your heart, etc. So it's changing the circulation. That's what we use yoga for. It changes the energy within you. It moves the energy around. It sometimes blocks the energy when we do compressions, and then releases and reboots us, basically, sending all blood essentially, but the blood contains all that other energy that we need, the oxygen, etc. So see if you can feel those changes happening now that you've been here 2 or 3 minutes. So Yin's not active. Yin works on us when we're cold. We tend to practice Yin, and it gently moves into the deeper parts of us. So the deeper joints, normally we're thinking of, the joints, the ligaments, the tendons, the things that are harder to reach. So this is kind of what we're doing in this practice. We're trying to move down to the deeper layers of us that are harder to reach for a lot of people, not so much yogis, but for most people, they never see past that physical body feeling. So we've probably had enough to flush some nice oxygen to rejuvenate our faces now. So take one leg down at a time. If you're on the wall, you'll have to swivel round and get yourself down. And take yourself down to the floor. Lift your hips if you need to take anything out from underneath them. And just have a big stretch out in between, just gently opening up and flushing stuff back down in the right direction. Releasing energy in the other direction there. And then we're going to move up to supported fish. So you'll need your block here or your bolster. Again, your choice is always to change into something that you're comfortable in. You might want to go into child's pose or something even. It doesn't matter. You don't need to follow me in this practice. We're taking the poses to work with the theme rather than the other way around. So coming into supported fish, if you've got your block, it's the middle of your back, just around where your bra strap would be. Sorry, Gary, I know you don't, but that's where the block goes. And your head can either be in the floor or on another block. But what we're doing here is opening up the chest and the ribs area in a back bend, essentially, and opening up across the shoulders by releasing the arms down to the floor and taking them outward. If the legs aren't comfortable or the lower back isn't comfortable, bend your knees and bring your feet to the floor. That's a lot more comfortable for the lower back. Or you can take your feet into Padottanasana by taking the soles of the feet together. So find the most comfortable leg position for this, and then you'll be able to release the upper body a lot more. It'll take its time. You'll find as you lie here initially, normally, I tend to find that I'm holding quite a lot. And it takes quite a lot of time for it to give and release that area, the very tight areas across our chests and our tummies, etc., because of the way we sit and across our front of our shoulders particularly. We tend to live life looking downwards a lot of the time. So this is opening up the front body. So this is also opening up what we'll go into next week a little bit more, our nadis and our 72,000 nadi channels that we have in us, which are our energy channels. The Chinese would call them the meridian channels, and they are also recognized by medical science. So acupuncture, for instance, would be working on these points. So these channels run up and down through us, and they run up and down through all our organs. Some are linked to our livers, heart, etc. Go into them a bit more next week, but we're opening all the channels on the front of our body here so that the energy can flow much freer. So as I said, yoga does tend to temporarily change our energy flow. So just take yourself back to your breath. It doesn't need to have retention this time, just take your breath. And what I'll do is I'll either sometimes leave you in silence in these, or I might just explain a bit more about what we've been talking about. So in yoga, we have three bodies in this concept that we're talking about. An individual is composed of three bodies. It's a bit confusing because there's 5 koshas, 3 bodies, 7 chakras, 72,000 nadis. So forget the numbers, just think of the concept rather than worrying how many things we've got, and see them as a whole rather than as a lot of different things. Because that's what we are. We're built up, I would say, of many layers. They say 5, but if you think in it, there are many different. These are groups that they put the processes inside us into. So our 5 koshas. The first one is the Annamaya, our physical body that you're lying in now. The second one is our Pranamaya, which tends to make us think of Pranayama. Very like that word. And it is to do with the same thing. It's to do with our vital life force. It's often called the vital body. Just for a second, I'm going to stop talking and let you just feel, if you're starting to get a little into this supported fish pose, can you feel movement on the outside of your physical body, or maybe even on the inside rather? Are things starting to open and maybe release? So take a few more breaths here, Matsyendrasana. And just as I've said that, notice what the mind does when it knows it's about to move. Did you feel a tensing? Has it stopped opening? The mind is very powerful on the body, and that would be a Manamaya kosha. Still a sense of doing in this pose, I feel. When you open like that, there's still a sense of something doing, happening. Okay, so when you're ready, carefully lift yourself up from the support on your back, and using your elbows to support is always a good way to come out of that one. And then have a little stretch once you're back into Shavasana. We're going to roll over now and come into Pigeon on in the next pose. So to do that, you'll need cushioning and bricks again. So bring in something, it's particularly for your head here. So you might want your brick standing up and something sitting on it, depends how you feel. And then come up to tabletop. Normally we would do cat-cow here, but we're going to go straight into Pigeon. So in tabletop, we're going to rock back when you're ready and take your right knee outside of your right hand to the edge of the mat. So it's in line roughly with your hands, but it's outside and it feels like your hips going out. What will have happened is the back leg will have gone skew with. We want that to be going straight back. So that leg should be going out, but your other leg should be going straight back from your body. And then we're going to gently, if you want to, bring that leg round so that you feel a little bit more comfortable. If you don't want to do this, I'll give you another option in a second. So the option here is pigeon. Find yourself in pigeon. What you want to do is that back foot should be going back as far as possible. The front leg doesn't need to come straight up now. It needs to make sure that your knee is out of the way so that you're not putting extra pressure through your knee. So you can stay up in pigeon here. You can put a block under your hip if you need to. If you want to, you can actually just roll down onto that hip. Or you can come down and use your brick under your head or a cushion or something and just settle into pigeon on that side. If you find that's too much, and you can either, as I say, just sit down onto that hip and then come to the floor, slightly different version, or you can come down and take yourself either with a foot on the wall again or on the floor and take your right foot up, flex that foot and cross yourself into eye of the needle. And that is a version of pigeon as well. So either version, take whichever one you want. If you're on your back, though, doing eye of the needle, make sure you close your eyes. Try and close off any stimulus from round about you. So in pigeon, if you've decided now in one version and want to go into the other, please feel free. Try and settle into this position. We'll take it for a couple of minutes, but find your breath now and just breathe. And find that edge that you get to in yin. Don't force yourself through anything, but as you get to an edge and breathe, you'll then find things start to give and you walk towards another edge where you stop again and think it's not going to loosen any further. So this is a massive opener for your hip. Make sure that back leg is going backwards and not out to the side, or you'll be putting your hips into the wrong alignment. And make sure you can breathe. That's the point of having your third eye on something that's resting there. So pigeon. Pigeon is where we'll find that connection maybe to our Manamaya kosha. You'll start to find thoughts moving in, feelings arising. Whoops. When you still your body and there's some sort of silence, then the mind starts to find space. When you're very active, you can keep the mind at bay a little bit more. And I think that kind of tells us something about the way people live their lives nowadays. They don't want to face what's in there, basically. So they keep active and keep moving. But as thoughts and feelings arise, this is a process people need to go through. Particularly, emotions may arise, like you may feel sadness or anger comes up from nowhere in these positions often. Nothing to do with the pose you're in. It may be something that's just being released. And the thought is just to observe them and let them go. Let them move on through you. Even if it's just frustration about lying here and being still, try and let it just work itself through. So the Manamaya kosha isn't just our mind, it's a mental part of us. It's our psyche, our psychological side. And it's responsible also for working with the body through our 5 senses. And through our motor skills. So when you're not moving, it's allowed to open itself a lot more because it's not involved with the body so much. So facing yourself is something that people avoid nowadays. So they move continuously in their gross physical body, and that way they don't have to peel off any layers and look inside themselves. They just look at how other people are living And all they're seeing is their physicality. It's all about getting to know yourself. Okay, you've probably had enough on this side in pigeon. So carefully bring yourself up, release that leg backwards by lifting up through your hands. Have a stretch of that leg. Release the compression that I spoke about. Let the flow move through your leg again. And then come back to all fours. Notice the difference between the two hips. Physically, we've moved into that joint area a lot deeper. So then, if you're comfortable with it, choose which version you want on the other side and go into pigeon on the other side now. Might be completely different. Remember, if you're taking the full version, you want to make sure that back leg is walked back as far as it's possible. The idea is to almost sit down onto your hips. Some of you will be able to. I'm not that flexible in that area. The hips move the wrong way. So wherever you get to, though, it's fine. Bring your head down then to something that can support it on the third eye area and release into it. So initially, again, an edge. In Yin, this edge is important to recognize and to wait at that edge and not force yourself into a deeper part of the pose when your body's not ready to go there. So take your time just to settle. If you find it's not for you, if it's ever painful, always come out of something and change the position. There is always an option, which I gave you a minute ago. So here, as I said, your Manamaya kosha works with your 5 senses, and here they're quietened, and your motor actions have been stilled in pigeon or in any pose that we're not moving in, any yin pose essentially. So to work with that, bring in pranayama now, not pranam, it's still pranamaya, but we're thinking of pranayama. There's where the breath becomes a tool in all of this. And here maybe you want to use your mantra, sata nama again as you breathe. So as you exhale, you would say sa, birth. Next exhale, ta, life or existence. Next exhale, na, death or transformation, if you'd rather use that word. Ma, rebirth, restart, reincarnation, if you want to use that word. So sata nama, or just use those words without too much thought for their meanings in English. Manamaya kosha works very well with mantras because it's the layer of us that moves more towards meditation, rather to get to it. Meditation is the tool we would use. So pranamaya works well with pranayama. The physical body works very well with the asanas. Manamaya, we tend to move more towards meditation. Yoga can be just a moving meditation, but Manamaya works particularly well with mantras, which you're using now in Satanama. So just take 2 or 3 more breaths using that mantra without me speaking. Notice as your body is releasing, or maybe it's going deeper and you're feeling it more. So make yourself ready to move out. Take a couple of seconds before you do, having thought about it, and then move out carefully out of this side of pigeon. And come back to tabletop. And maybe this time in tabletop, just take a few circles with your hips. Moving that energy around again through the balls and sockets, the physical body. Through your knees that might have been feeling it, and pigeon, it can be quite strong in your knees, but you should never feel pain. It should be just an opening rather than a painful feeling. And then go in the other direction. And then stop. And we're going to come now into puppy pose. So you will need your brick and the cushion again, or floor if you're comfortable, whichever. So in puppy, we just stay as we are in the back end of us. So the hips stay over the knees. And we come down to one elbow at a time. And then we move forward on our elbows so that we feel that long front body feeling. So the hips stay back over the knees, but then you open up through the front body or the length of the body until you can come down. You might then pop your head on a block. Don't need to go right down. Just make sure you can breathe wherever you put it. Don't put it straight into a cushion. If it's comfortable for you to stay in the block and that's enough for you, then that's great. Again, it's an inversion. Anybody that doesn't want to do this, please turn around onto your back and take Kapotanasana. So this is another form of back bend, actually. So you can stretch out in this one, or you can stay with a bit of support through your elbows and through your blocks. That's less of an inversion then as well, so that's not quite so powerful towards your head. Particularly thinking of my sister-in-law here, so be careful what you're doing here, please. Think of what the position you've taken. So this is very much pressing on our third eye, our Anya chakra, another group of things in yoga. They're all very much connected, and we'll take them in a little bit more maybe next week or the week after or something. But this is connected to our third eye, the Anya chakra, but it's also hopefully getting towards our connection with our fourth kosha, which is Annamaya, which is the layer of wisdom, or the body of wisdom and intellect. It's our consciousness, our understanding, a little bit deeper than the mental body. So it's a little voice in your head, basically. It's when you can hear your inner self, maybe talking to you. And this fourth kosha is the third one in our subtle body. So we have the gross physical body, we have then got the subtle body, which is made up of the Pranamaya, the Manamaya, and the Annamaya, the three koshas to do with our vital life force, our mental body, and our wisdom, consciousness, intellect body. So those three are the deeper part of us below the physical body. I know this is all very confusing, probably. You don't have to remember it. It's only there. I'm only giving the knowledge to you in the hope that you understand yourself better and maybe can reach some part of you that you had recognized but didn't quite have a name for. It's just another way of looking at ourselves. So it's never a bad thing to look at ourselves before we look at others. Okay, so we're going to come up from that one carefully now. You can stay longer in all these poses in Yin, but I don't want to well, with time limits anyway, but I don't want to put you through too much in one go. So we're coming up now carefully and taking a moment, just kneeling here. When you come up, eyes closed or half closed if you'd rather. Find your length in your body again. Find that openness that you just found. You might be feeling quite heavy, not just the physical body reacting to what you're doing. You're not doing a lot, but it does still have a response to what the poses that we've been in, the rebound. So notice a difference in your energy. Maybe might be that you feel heavier or more tired. It might be that it's actually energized you and make you feel a little bit more ready for the day, hopefully. So then we'll come into our last pose here, is one that we did earlier this week with the straps, but we're going to take it with our blocks, or I'll use my bolster because I quite like it in this one. But you take your blocks, it's wide leg, so we're seated wide leg, legs can be in, legs can be bent, wherever's more comfortable. Do be aware we've been down in the opposite direction a lot this class, so your head might feel a little bit light at this point, so do be careful how you're moving, take it easy. We're not going down too far in this one. I know some of you are flexible enough to reach the floor, but that's not the point of it this morning. We're going to come to building your blocks to a comfortable height, so that when you fold forward like we did earlier in the week with the full long body, so we're folding from here, you're folding forward and you can just rest on your bricks. So you just want your head on your bricks. So take them to whatever height is comfortable for your lower back particularly. We haven't worked on that. The other thing you can do is use the bolster, put it at an angle and just rest your head on it. And initially you might just find it's the upper body that's stretching because the lower body will be holding on a little bit. Keep that tummy engaged to support the lower body. And use your hands wherever you can, just put in a little bit of extra support. The more support your body feels here, the more it will give into the pose. And then you'll feel your hips start to open. Your lower back starts to open. And as your upper body becomes a little bit more heavy through gravity and you relaxing, the rest of you will start to feel a little bit of a stretch, maybe. Remember, we're still doing yin, we haven't warmed up, so don't overstretch anything. If it's too strong, bend your knees for one thing, or sit up a little bit taller. But just gently finding a little bit of an edge and working towards the next one. So again, going on to meridians, which we'll do a little bit with next week, or nadis, as they are in our speak. But you may have heard of meridians more. In this pose, you can really feel from your ankle up through your inner thighs, if your legs are open and you're not knees bent, you'll really feel that connection with that channel that runs right up through the inside of your legs. So that should feel very open. So we're opening up in different poses. That feeling of openness is probably attached to the energy channel that you're opening. So finding the breath again, remember, to get you through these poses, to help you relax, but also to help you meditate a little bit. If you don't like the word meditation, then use the word concentrate a little bit. And the more you concentrate or meditate, the more you'll be soothed, the more you'll release knots of energy here, not just in the physical body, in the mental body. So working with the Annamaya kosha, the physical layer, also with the Manamaya, the mental layer here. A thing that you can use to bridge that connected with the Pranamaya is the Pranayama. Your breath control practice. So it is a bridge between the mind and the body, and this is reflected here in this pose. So going back to your physical body, what can you feel? Can you feel changes? Minute changes maybe. Can you feel what needs to change? Can you feel where there seems to be maybe a block? In my case, I can feel it in my left lower back, which is the end of my lat muscle, and I know it's very tight around there. So just recognizing where you need to take a little bit of time to allow that part of your body to open slowly. Yoga, of course, works with our health, our physical health through the asanas, and our energy health through our pranayamas. If we work towards, we also work with our mental health a lot through yoga, through working with our parasympathetic nervous system, which relaxes us and releases us and allows us just to slow down and take a moment. So let's come out of our Upavisthakonasana very slowly, using your hands. Start from the bottom of your spine and come up slowly. Have a little windscreen wiper maybe through your legs here just to get them moving again. And then come back down into Shavasana. For a moment, come back down to the floor. Take it easy, take it slowly, coming down. So go back to that question, how do you define yourself? And let's look at you from the top again. So the gross physical body, the Annamaya kosha, that outside of you, the skin, the muscles, everything that makes up the physicality in you. But that could be peeled off and you would still be there. The question of mortality and reincarnation is one for you to decide on your answer. But the idea here is that that physical body will peel off at some point, but what's underneath will move on. It is energy, and as I said via Albert Einstein the other day, energy must always be there. You cannot get rid of energy. It will always be there, and it just has to transform. So where that energy goes, again, is one for you to think about. But those layers of energy in us are Pranamaya kosha, the life energy, our Manamaya kosha, that mental layer of us, our mental body, the Vijnana maya, which is a deeper sense of us, our wisdom, our understanding, our connection to other things and other beings and other energy. And then deeper than that is the final body, which is the causal body. That's right inside and shielded by all the other layers. And the thought is that that is where your inner self or your soul resides, within that last layer. And it's called the bliss body. And it's called the bliss body because of the connection. When that energy touches all the other energy around us, then we find that connection to everything, which is calms us, balances us. Sometimes you might have felt that brief feeling of a oneness with everything else. The bliss body. We're moving down to try to find that, because that's where happiness resides, essentially. So we're going to move our physical body now and move out of this practice. So have a little stretch here, hands above the head, reaching down through the heels, and then sweep the arms round in angel's wings and take another couple of those, reaching out, doing a few circles, moving a few joints that haven't really done much movement this morning, but they've had a lot of movement through them, through the energy, and a lot of movement in them. And then take the feet one at a time to the floor, so bent knees, and just take a few windscreen wipers. Either legs together or legs apart, whichever you've come into naturally. Just take a few movements there. Take your right knee in and your left knee in and have a little squeeze and release in Uttanasana. And maybe a little rock from side to side with your knees in. Pop your feet back to the floor one at a time and just gently take your head from side to side on the floor. Just rocking through the back of the skull. Just moving all that energy back to the right place, hopefully. And then come over onto your side. Take a moment, take your time, come up slowly. This is me getting up very quickly, but take your time, because otherwise you can feel a little bit dizzy when you've done this sort of practice particularly. Back up to the top. So one last thing is, Yoga Nidra is what we would often use for that last layer of us. So if I can find a Yoga Nidra this week to send you, I'll send you one to try at the weekend and see if you can find that final layer of you. Thank you everybody for your patience. It is all very long-winded and confusing sometimes, trying to cram some yoga philosophy into the classes, but hopefully it helps you have a deeper understanding of why we're here on the mat. Thank you for your practice, and namaste.